Hi guys, Kayla here and welcome to Kayla Bean Gaming, also known as KBT. And guys, how do I explain this? We're watching Let Me Explain Studio Woes. And just why not, right? We all love Rebecca, we love her comedy, we love her stories, which get a little personal at times. But we're still here for the fun. But today we're watching the other ones. Being wild with friends, defending and frying, Daycare stories. They're both 8 minutes, but I think we should do this one first. Bitten while defeating a friend. Let's start. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, my geeks and peeps, my explainers and entertainers, my little oodle-lollies, Rebecca Parham here. Throughout my young life, I've had a handful of noteworthy, people who habitually seek out to harm or intimidate those whom they perceive as vulnerable. Oh, sorry, YouTube now demonetizes the B word, and I don't mean Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. At my preparatory school, pretty much most of my classmates didn't like me and picked on me from time to time.
That's why you have to be careful of what you say in a video, because we don't know what YouTube does. We don't know what YouTube does if we say one bad word. Out of the business. Say goodbye to your YouTube channel.
But a few of them made it a more regular thing. One such individual was a girl that we'll call Millie. She was a troubled young soul. Little on the mad side. Had difficulty understanding why people got upset when she punched them. Come on, we were just having fun. To be fair, I wasn't her only target. She was an equal opportunity irritant. She tormented girls, boys, big kids, small kids, kids that climb on rocks, everyone. And she did everything from cheap insults to stealing to physical violence. When you're young, adults tell you to stand up to kids like her, defend the innocent, be a hero, do the right thing. What they don't tell you is that sometimes doing the right thing still gets you in trouble.
Wait, why don't they say that? Why don't they say that? Is it just because they didn't have that stuff when they were in school, when they were kids? I mean, yeah, but she does have a point. Sometimes doing the right thing can get you in trouble.
Millie, I know you're probably out there growing up in a better person, but I'm using you as an example. On with the show. It was 6th grade when Millie and I had our little incident. That year we had gotten a brand new kid we'll call Greg. Greg was a troubled soul too. He had a very poor family life, all of the kids in the class relentlessly picked on him, and he often retaliated not with his words, but his fist. He hated everyone and everyone hated him. Well, except me. Seeing how he was a fellow social outcast, I couldn't bring myself to be mean to him. And in turn, he was never mean to me. You could even say we were friendly for a while. Now at this tiny school, we didn't have a cafeteria, we all ate in the gym. So one lunchtime, Greg and I were sitting on the bleachers eating and talking. Now when Greg wasn't pummeling the kids who made fun of him, he kept a journal. Probably should have been his first choice for emotional expression, but hey, I'm no psychologist. And this day, he had his journal sitting out next to him on the bleachers. As we talked, Millie came over. You remember her. She stood there chatting with us until she spied Greg's journal. Ooh, what's this? Don't touch it, it's my journal. A journal? Come on, let's see it.
Millie,
in a flash,
why would you
Millie
do that?
snatched the book out of his hands and ran off with it. Greg gave chase, and to escape him, Millie ran into the girls' locker room. By the time I caught up with the two, Greg was standing just outside the locker room, Millie was standing just inside with the door open, and she was reading from his journal out loud to the other girls inside, knowing full well he couldn't go in to stop her. And remember, Greg was a troubled kid. There might have been some really heavy stuff in that journal that she was about to spill everywhere. I saw all of this unfolding in front of me, and I knew I had to do something. This was not right. Time to stand up, as the adults say. So I ran into the locker room and began tussling with Millie for the journal. No one was getting hurt, mind you, just a lot of pulling and shuffling. But tug of war quickly escalated into war. Give you 3 guesses who took it too far. We struggled.
Okay, 3 guesses. Millie, Rebecca accidentally did it. Maybe Rebecca accidentally took it too far, just on accident. Probably Millie.
For about 10 seconds before it happened. The next thing I knew, she grabbed my wrist and bit down as hard as she could. I screamed full voice and let go of the journal. When she
Millie, okay, stealing a journal by its own is bad, but actually biting like someone's arm, I don't know which one is worse. Millie, why would you do that to Rebecca? She's standing up for herself. You're the bully.
finally let go of me, I looked down at my wrist to see a perfectly gruesome bite in my skin. And it was pretty gnarly looking too, those serrated indentions, it was already starting to bruise. And it was slobbery. Thankfully, she didn't break the skin because, listen, human bites are nothing to sneeze at. Do a Google search. Mayo Clinic says to seek emergency care if the skin is broken. Apparently, we all have Komodo dragon mouths full of dangerous bacteria. Actually, that kind of makes you rethink kissing. You bit me! You actually bit me! What the hell is wrong with you? You're insane! I'm going to the nurse! Suddenly, Millie wasn't so concerned about Greg and his journal anymore. I marched right to the nurse's office, with Millie behind me trying to convince me not to go. When I showed the nurse the bite, she disinfected it and called the principal. We both got sent to his office. I told him my story, but when it was Millie's turn to tell hers, she actually had the gall to say, "When she put her arm across my back, I couldn't breathe. She was about to suffocate me. So you see, I had no choice but to bite her." Objection, Your Honor?
Oh my gosh, Millie. Millie, that is like the most stupidest story. That is like the most stupidest story I've ever heard in my life.
That's not how the human body works? No, I didn't say that. I didn't say anything in that moment because it wasn't my turn to talk. And honestly, I was getting a little freaked out because the principal was acting like I was just as guilty as Millie. I don't know if he honestly believed her lies, but he listened to our stories and said, "Well, because both of you were horseplaying in the bathroom, you're both in trouble." Horseplay? I'll be calling your parents today. Rebecca, you'll be getting 5 demerits. And Millie, normally I'd give you 5 as well, but because this is the second time I've seen you in my office this year, you'll be getting 10.
Okay, Mr. Principal. Mr. Principal, you can't give Rebecca 5 demerits. Because, first of all, she was standing up for herself. She was not horseplaying. If you want to know who's horseplaying, then it was Millie, okay? And she was standing up for herself, and if you have a problem of bitten by defending a friend, well, that's on you.
I have several objections. Let's get this straight. My crime, my punishable offense, was getting bitten while defending another kid. And the person who bit me would have gotten the exact same punishment as me if it hadn't been her second offense. Excuse me, who hurt you? Yeah, sure, maybe I could have politely asked the little sadist for the journal back. Like she'd actually give it back. But I don't care who you are. There is a very big difference between tug of war to get stolen property back and a full-blown bite that could have potentially ended in a hospital trip. Lord help us, Becca's angry. Even as outrageous as it all was, I was beside myself. All I could think about in that moment was that I was in trouble. I was supposed to be the good kid, the peacekeeper, the clean record. 5 demerits and he's calling my parents? They only do that for the bad kids. Am I a bad kid now? Oh, Mom and Dad are gonna be so mad at me. He sent us back to class, and for the rest of the day, I was a nervous wreck, dreading the sound of that final bell. For sure, the principal had called Mom, and the moment I set foot in her car, I was a goner. Well, the end of the day came, and I solemnly walked to my mom's car. It felt like I was walking to my own execution. I got in and silently awaited my fate. Hey, sweetie, we're gonna be here a little bit longer. We're waiting on your sister to get out of basketball practice.
What the? They're waiting for her sister to get out of basketball practice? Wait a minute. So that means she didn't get the call from the principal.
That's it? No screaming? No lecture? No punishment? She's not even gonna bring it up? I was a tad confused. Wait a minute. She didn't get a call from the principal.
Exactly.
She doesn't know what happened. Well, that's not right. She needs to know. Or I got this bite on my arm for nothing.
Exactly.
Look what Millie did to me. Oh,
Oh no.
explain yourself, knave!
Get him.
We were in that principal's office for a good half hour, and Mom calmly explained over and over and over again the absurdity of it all. How backwards it is to punish a child for essentially being assaulted, especially while defending another child. And here I was terrified that she was going to be mad at me. By the end of it, she couldn't convince the principal to remove the 5 demerits, but it almost didn't matter anymore. I had done what's right. I stood up for what I believed in. And the people that mattered knew it. It may come with consequences, but doing good is its own reward. And after that day, Millie backed off and rarely bothered me or Greg ever again. Just goes to show what can come from one act of bravery.
Yeah, so that video was a 10 out of 10. And just like Rebecca said, one act of bravery can, actually do something. It can actually do something big. And if, something like that happens to you and you're not 18 plus, then you should definitely tell an adult. That is nothing to just let go. Anyway, we're moving on to daycare stories. Yeah. Oh, and also heard there's a daycare stories part 2, but that's a video for another day. So yeah, let's start. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, hello, my geeks and peeps, my explainers and entertainers, my little oodle-lollies. Rebecca Parham here. So, did you know I was a daycare kid? Probably not, because I've never mentioned it before. Makes sense, given that Mom and Dad were both working parents, and leaving one's infant at home alone is generally considered problematic. Now, I know it might be hard to believe, but I haven't always been the pinnacle of refinement and maturity that you see before you today. No. As a kid, I was a bit of a rascal. For example, the box story.
Okay, yeah, I guess it's, not that much of a surprise that Rebecca was kinda, a rascal when she was little. I guess that's kinda how it is. When you're little, you're just kind of problematic, and you do a lot of mean things. But when you get older, you're just man, I can't do that. I'm a grown adult, and I just can't do that. So I guess that's how it is.
Now, at this daycare, we had a big playroom, and in this playroom, there was a dark little alcove where custodial stuff and equipment was kept all the time. And one morning during playtime, I noticed someone had left a large box there, big enough for a child to hide behind. Now, there's a concept that I call kid logic, and it's basically just a name for that randomness that kids possess, or the absurdity that is their reasoning sometimes. For example, when I saw that box, that's when my kid logic kicked in, and I said, I'm gonna hide behind that box for as long as possible and see what happens.
Oh no.
This is a great idea. So when the adults weren't looking, I slunk behind the box and crouched down, hiding myself entirely. I must have stayed there for half an hour before playtime ended, and they ushered all the kids away to a different room for a new activity. And funny enough, the adults were none the wiser I was gone. I've beat the system. Now this is what gets me. It took an hour of me hiding before an adult came back to the room and visibly began looking around for something.
An hour? So when they left, they were just okay, let's check. There's Timmy, Willie, Billy, Nikki, Lauren, Maria, Amelia, but they weren't where's Rebecca? How was it like that? How was it like that?
Couldn't imagine what it might be.
Now where did I leave that small child? Must be around here someplace.
I peeked my head up over the edge of the box to watch, but that proved to be my undoing.
Oh, no?
I was spotted!
I've been compromised!
I got in big trouble for that, of course. I was clearly not good at getting away with things when I was a kid, as you'll see in the next story. Now, one time at this daycare, they brought in a whiteboard, and you were only allowed to draw on it with adult supervision.
Okay, I won't draw on the board.
Instead, I stole a green dry erase marker when no one was looking and proceeded to decorate my face. Hey, listen, I didn't break the rules. They specifically said don't draw on the board. They said nothing about my face.
Okay, yeah, well, that still doesn't mean you shouldn't. You should draw on your face, little Rebecca, daycare Rebecca. Okay, if Rebecca one time to back when she was younger and she's watching this, I just want to say that, or normal Rebecca is watching this.
I put the marker back and walked away, but was promptly spotted by an adult. Becca, did you do this to yourself?
No.
Did somebody do this to you?
Yes.
Who did it? Well, sheesh, I hadn't thought I had that far. And I honestly didn't even think to blame another kid. Instead, that good old kid logic kicked in, and I came up with the most foolproof story that was sure to get my hide out of trouble.
I was minding my own business looking for something to play with, and then the markers came over and marked on my face. Nailed it.
That you are minding your own business, looking for something to play, and then the marker monster drew on your face. And someone that's 18 plus, and someone that's an adult actually believes that. If I was him, I would be like, Rebecca, you can tell me the truth. That's what I would say.
I will never understand how that daycare worker kept a straight face, but off to timeout I went.
So, what are you in for? Disrupting the status quo? Whoa, I stuck gum up my nose.
Something I haven't mentioned yet is that my sister Rachel also went to this daycare, and because she's 2 years older than me, she got to be in the big kids program called the Superstars.
Ew.
And I was so jealous that I took to calling them the Stupid Stars.
Oh, yeah. I would kind of be jealous of your older sister, Rachel, to Rebecca. The Superstars. I love that name. I love stars. And the color purple. And the color blue. And kind of the color gray. Okay, yeah, let's just move on.
Extra crispy on that burn there, little Becca. But one thing that will always be a significant memory to me is the day I discovered that the Superstars had a Nintendo. Better yet, they had Super Mario Brothers. And that, my little oodle-ollies, was the first time I ever saw a console video game. I thought I was looking at magic. And that became the only thing I ever wanted to do at playtime, was go over to the big kid area and watch them play Super Mario Brothers. Don't you dare tell me that gamers aren't real entertainers. I was watching people play video games long before the Appliers and Septiceyes and D-Pies of the world made it a thing. But when playtime was over, the daycare staff had to pry me away, kicking and screaming from that TV set. One day, however, I came up with a brilliant idea. When they pulled me away from the big kids' corner and sat me down with the other little kids, I proceeded to scream and cry that I miss my big sister, and nothing was gonna console me except being allowed to be with her in the big kid area.
Okay, if you're the oldest and you're you're watching this, you probably don't understand, but you still think it's cute. But when you're the youngest or the second youngest like me, you think this is so freaking cute. Oh my gosh.
I guess the adults didn't know what else to do, so they actually let me go back over.
Holy Crayola, that actually worked.
Sure enough, I made a beeline for the Nintendo. Screw you, sis, I got video games to observe. It didn't take long for an adult to catch on, and I was eventually pulled away again. When I tried the same shtick, they gently said,
Becca, you say you miss your sister, but every time you go over there, you just watch them play video games.
Okay, maybe they had me there.
Okay, this is what I would say. Actually, they're teaching me good video games, and I'm not really watching them. I'm kind of like coloring at the same time. Okay, yeah, I don't think they're gonna take that excuse.
Not gonna lie, that's a pretty solid accusation.
All right, grown-up, I'll concede to you this time. But one day I'll be grown-up, and I'll watch all the video games I want.
Don't you mean play them?
No.
Now I've saved the best story for last. Even when I started kindergarten, there was no escaping this daycare, because one of the services they provided was picking up children from my elementary school and taking them back to the daycare where the parents could pick them up later. So every day, I didn't get picked up by a parent or get on a normal yellow school bus. I waited for a big white van. That sounds rather nefarious now that I say it out loud.
Oh, no.
But yeah, Rachel and I would wait for the van, pile in with the other kids, and go wait to get picked up at the daycare. And this was a routine my kindergarten teacher knew. She was a very good teacher and kept track of the way each of her students were supposed to go home. So she would make sure I got in that van. Well, I was getting a little bored of the routine. And here's good old kid logic again, because many of my classmates would get to walk home. And for some reason, I decided that was the cool thing to do. I aspired to walk home. But that wasn't gonna happen with Miss Responsibility Pants botching my whole operation. So like the little devil I was, I waited until we had a substitute teacher. Alright, here's your evil genius learner's permit, kiddo. When school ended that day, instead of getting into the daycare van, I hid behind a brick pillar and waited for the van to leave without me. Funny how my sister never said anything. She must have been like, alright, I guess she died.
Rachel! Okay, Rachel, you are Rebecca's older sister. Why would you do that? Just why would you do that? I would at least be a little suspicious. Like a couple, like a while before the van came, I would be like, okay, where's Rebecca? I guess she's in the building or something.
As soon as the van left, I headed off on foot. My house was within walking distance, only about a mile away. But I began to think as I walked that no one was actually going to be at the house, and I had no way of getting inside. Probably should have thought of that before. So instead of walking home, I made the executive decision to walk to the daycare instead. Now, I knew what I was doing was against the rules, because every single time I saw a white vehicle of any sort coming in the distance, I would duck behind a tree or bush as fast as I could. When I was so close that I could see the daycare up ahead, I noticed what was most definitely a white van approaching, and the only tree immediately available was thinner than me. So not only was this tree already insufficient at hiding me, but when I jumped behind it, I didn't think to put the tree between me and the line of sight of the van. So when the daycare staff approached, this is what they saw. I'm revoking that evil genius learner's permit. They stopped the van, made me get inside, and guess who I found in the back seat? The snitch that ratted me out. My own sister.
How could you? We were brothers, you and I. Wait.
And that is just a handful.
Okay, so that was a good one, and I really liked how it wasn't just Rebecca who went to daycare. It was her and her older sister Rachel. Yeah, that's in the video. Hope you enjoyed. Bye, and don't forget to. That's in the video. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.